All right, everyone. So YouTuber RAWR Gears, I just wanted to make sure I spelled it out so you guys can check out his channel as well. Tweeted out something, and I thought, you know what? Let's do a reaction to what the comments are to this. So he said, well, that's the Gears of War E-Day beta coming to an end. How did we all find it? I'm intrigued to hear your feedback. So go follow him on all that stuff. Just wanted to react because he's got a lot of fans here that are, and I'm interested to see what a lot of them have to say. So let's start with one of them. I felt like I was controlling the character with pounds of sand on their back, forcing me to walk, bounce in order to move faster than 1 mile per hour. That's what one person said. I absolutely loved it. I'm not a massive Gears PvP fan, not since Gears 2 in all fairness, but the Horde Siege, definitely love that aspect. Just a shame about the dim-witted teammates. So let's stop there for a second and react to those two. So I'm wondering, when I first played the beta, it was a felt like a complete shock in terms of what it felt like. It was like, "Oh my god, this is way different," right? The movement is way different. You can actually watch our first game playing it. But after a couple hours, I grew to like, "Oh no, this feels fine." And I liked it a lot. I thought the movement felt good, and most of the mistakes movement-wise was on me. I've always had this problem with Gears where when I'm sometimes I recognize that when you hit A, like coming off a corner, there's the one where you go tight on the corner, and there's the one where you jump to the right, and sometimes I mess that up, right? And so the only problems I've had are user error in terms of the controls. But I'm interested, this person, like I said, they maybe, they may have played 50 hours of the beta. I have no clue, but I'm interested how much they played just based off the fact of once you play it more, it feels like the movement becomes, oh, this is actually pretty good. The second one we read about the Horde and the teammates, or the Horde and the teammates, it's like, yeah, I can understand that. The Horde Siege, the one part of that I think is going to be a little bit tough is it is so based on having teammates because it's such a massive thing. And bottom line is today, a lot of gamers aren't, putting on their mics, aren't talking. So it becomes a situation where it's like, if you don't have good teammates, it's very tough to survive in that mode, especially on the hardest one. So it's one of those things where you're probably going to want to bring your own squad. Um, so I can understand why that would be a frustration, right? Where it's like Horde used to be, maybe you could even do it solo, no longer, right? This is something you need a team for. So, but that will probably fix itself as people start playing more and more of the game, right? Right now it's just so new, everybody's learning on the fly. All right, let's keep reading. Couldn't even run it. My PC was dying. I'll wait for the game to come out in October to play it on Xbox. I don't feel like paying for Xbox. All right, we don't. That's not anything needed. I think overall a 6, had a good time, but they got to iron out a lot of stuff from the versus side of things. Hit reg is off. Trading doesn't work at times, and weapon balancing to name a few. But overall, enjoyed my time. Horde, Siege, and versus are going to be a good time. So I think that's a pretty fair assessment of that's why this beta is so important because this is not like okay everything in here can now be fixed. The problem, I mean, you're not gonna do crazy changes, but the weapon balancing, the trades, things like that, they could fix that or fine tune it a little bit and make it more balanced for the release, and there is still another beta to come. So, considering all of that, I think that's huge, right? And I agree with that point of that's why this is important. Right now, this feels like a great foundation. Lancer needs to be stronger to combat Nashers of Gears of War multiplayer. Horde needs a higher difficulty than Commander. After being fully decked out, Commander is pretty easy. So that's interesting because I only played like one or two Horde Siege games, and so this guy is saying, "Listen, Horde is too easy once you get yourself decked out." So that's something they will have to deal with, right? Because you need to keep this thing challenging. All right. The first part about the shotgun versus the Lancer, I don't know about that because here's the problem. Gears of War has always been shotguns. It's just what it is, right? Going back to Gears of War 2, I remember, among my friend group when we'd all play Gears, you'd be making fun of the other team or, how everybody used to talk shit in game chat if they weren't using a shotgun, right? Like it was you don't melee, you don't chainsaw, you just and for multiplayer, you go one on one with the shotguns. And I know that's like, that was just probably our group in a sense, but that's how it was, And so I think that's just part of Gears. They do have the Retro Lancer in there, or actually, I don't know if it's called the Retro. I think it is, right? That's in there as a pickup that's very easy to pick up. It's on both sides of the spawn, so you can get them almost every game. And that one actually does tear. Like that's an amazing Lancer. So I understand for some people they may like, hey, make this better, but Gears of War was never, Gears is always going to be a shotgun game. That's how it is. And so I think you have the pickup that gives you a Lancer that's good enough. And from that, I just don't know if they're ever going to truly balance those two. Annoying input delays, and I'm getting stuck on walls, making my movement slow. New mechanics fun to learn, and horde mode is looking generational. So that's just, yeah, those are all things that you just gotta, they're gonna have to fix. The movement needs a lot of work. The delay from sprint to fire is a joke and super clanky. If you think of Gears, it's a fail. If you think of it as a different game, it is better now, like COD with Gears of War skin. So this seems to be someone who's not a fan of it. All I want is different. Or actually, I want to say one thing about that. So, like the Call of Duty with Gears of War skins, I just don't know if that's the case because the reason Call of Duty is not, at least, PR wise, doing great, is not just because of the fact that they have a battle pass, right? A lot of people want to sink down to like, well, if this game has a battle pass or this game has any form of like cosmetics, therefore it's new and it's not the same as it used to be. I think you need some of this stuff in modern games, as much as we may hate them, right? I wish we could go back to a time where what we got in Gears of War 2 was just enough. But I think you do need some of this in new games. The reason that Call of Duty is the way it is because of the gameplay. It's because of the balance, right? It's because of how if you had peak level Call of Duty gameplay, nobody would give a shit about any of the other stuff. And it was the fact that they kind of went away from the Call of Duty feel to like, hey, let's make this kind of a joke, right? We're going to bring in like, Family Guy characters and stuff, trying to copy Fortnite. So straight lined. That is the concern, right? Which is right now, because even with like Reloaded's beta and stuff like that, like Reloaded didn't hit the way I kind of thought it would. And I understand that it accomplished the goal it wanted to, but you do worry that right now it's like, okay, this feels great, but then the same things that plagued prior gears will come back to plague this one. The only thing I will say is that I feel like, and put in the comments if I'm wrong on this, I feel like the prior Gears of War games, their problems were more launch based, not that the game stunk, 2 to 3 months in. It's in fact, from what I hear about Gears 5, and we started playing it very late, Gears 5 actually got better as time went on. So I think the argument is with Gears 5, it's like they actually went through this situation with Gears 5, right? Or the series went through it in Gears 5. And by the end, they got something that if they could just put at the beginning of a game may end up being better. Character doesn't feel in control, movement is sluggish, heavy, and a lot of input delays. To be frank, it doesn't even feel like Gears. I don't know. It still feels like Gears to me. And the thing is, I don't know, to a lot of the people that are commenting here, how much they played, and I don't wanna assume they didn't play a lot, because if you're taking time to comment on it, I would think that you played a decent amount. But to me, like, the feel the problems I had feeling-wise all kinda went away once I played for, the first day. That once I got accustomed to it, it was like, "Okay, I the movement's fine." And it didn't necessarily feel different than Gears. The only thing that felt a little bit different than Gears is the you're so used to having like the boom shot, the torque bow, one of those power weapons, and neither of those were in this. So like that element of it did feel different. The fact you were constantly playing just two maps and the modes you were playing were a little bit different. Didn't quite feel like Gears, but everything else I felt, at least, felt like Gears of War. Loads of potential, few tweaks needed around camera shaking slash screen movements, etc. Would love a more original headshot sound too. Overall, it's pretty decent. Retro Lancer is a joke though. I don't know if he means Retro Lancer in good or bad, but yeah, I mean, I think a few tweaks and we're good. So I'm not going to read any more of these. I think we got a pretty good assessment. It seems like people like this, and I to me, everything we've seen so far, even more than the gameplay. has been positive. Like the fact that they decided, okay, we're gonna make this Gears of War, we're gonna add PvP when people ask for it. Like that's the stuff you do as a company just to get people involved in the game and to let them know, hey, we're listening to you. You guys want PvP? Because it's understandable why they were gonna go straight horde mode because that's gonna be, and I think smartly, that is gonna be the selling point, I think, from their perspective, right? Where they look at this and they go, we're gonna sell horde mode to the masses, and the Gears fans, the ones coming here for the PvP, they're gonna show up anyways. And I get that, but fans of the series want that PvP mode. They wanna see it, and I'm happy they put it in, because if they just put horde mode, I think it would have been a big drag on the beta. I think people would have got bored with it quicker and just been like, "Listen, whatever," especially if you don't have a team to play with. Like, I don't think I would have played it as much if it was just the horde mode. So, I'm excited about everything we're seeing right now. Um, Long way to go though, right? But so far so good. Thank you all for watching.